Hello everyone, welcome to video chat number 3. In the last topic section, you gave me your first speech, which was the personal narrative. In this topic selection, you'll be working on the basic informative speech. I have listed instructions and posted them on the Moodle site as to what this speech concerns. Briefly, let me explain that the question surrounds the fact that a police detective in a series of mystery novels instructs his detectives by speaking to them on what is important. One thing he stresses is that every detective needs to be able to say 4 sentences. Those sentences are, I don't know, I was wrong, I need help, I'm sorry. Now your goal is to look at the instructions I provided, select which one of those 4 sentences you think is the most important, tell me why by using good examples, and giving me a 2 minute 45 second to 3 minute speech. Okay? The instructions are there. If there are any questions, please just send me an email or text and we'll take care of them. Now, chapter 12 is what we're focusing on as far as the text is concerned this week, and chapter 12 is all about delivering the speech. It's not enough just to have a well-written speech in which your facts and your sentences and your information is all good and sound. It's also equally important to understand that the way you look, the way you sound when you deliver your speech is a big part of if your speech is perceived, understood, and appreciated. So chapter 12 focuses on that. Now, I do have my notes off to the side here. I'm looking over and then looking back. I don't want you to do that. Whenever you present a speech, if you need to use your notes, put them on the wall behind you, behind your camera, and then glance up at them when you need them. I will tell you 2 or 3 times, do not read this speech to me. Do not read this speech to me. You should have enough of it committed to your memory concerning what you want to speak that you don't have to read it word for word. My strong suggestion is to, when you come up with an example, to get in your head what you want to say. Don't try to memorize it sentence by sentence, because then if you forget a sentence, the rest of the speech is blown. Kind of know what's in your head, kind of know where you want to go, kind of know what points you want to cover, and then if you are talking and one point happens to come out when it wasn't planned, it's okay, you can still keep talking. So let me tell you once again, do not read your speech to me. I expect you to look at the camera about 80% of the time. You can glance off to your notes and back on occasion, but don't make it a habit, okay? No one wants to be read to. We want to be told, and so that's why I'm looking for you. Now, chapter 12 is also about the aspects of your voice which will allow you to have a good delivery. First thing I want you to remember is the 2 most important things: practice and preparation. Preparation and practice. That is one way that your speech is going to be very successful. Now, your text will mention 4 types of speeches 4 ways speeches are delivered: memorized, manuscript, impromptu, and extemporaneous. No one memorizes speeches anymore. They're just boring things to listen to. Nobody really uses a manuscript unless you're looking for exact details. Newscasters will use manuscripts to help them. Politicians will use manuscripts to help them remember what they want to say. Impromptu happens at work, happens at a party, happens with your friends. It's when you're asked something and you talk off the top of your head without any preparation at all. This is something that you do already. It's just that when you're at a job and you're asked to do it, it's a little more, it needs to be a little more informative. But at the same time, it is off the top of your head, and there's very little preparation for it. You have to rely on your common sense. The type of speaking you will be doing is called extemporaneous. It means you prepare the speech, you write it out to an effect, maybe not word for word, but jot down the ideas you want to express. And then as you give the speech, you're able to look at those notes for a quick word or 2, just to remind yourself where you are, and then continue on with the speech. Again, do not read your speech to me. Nobody wants a speech read to them. Those are the 4 delivery methods. Equally important, I want you to remember, is your voice, the quality of your voice. And part of that involves articulation. We are Southerners. We often leave off endings of words. We have a lazy mouth sometimes. We say going instead of going. We say get instead of get. We say what you doing instead of what you doing. It's typical. All of us do that. But when you're on a job, when you're speaking to people, you don't want to rely on your Southern personality, and you don't want to use your Southern lazy mouth as an excuse not to speak properly. That's kind of funny if you're working at a fish camp and you walk up and say, "Hey y'all, hey y'all want some nice iced tea?" That might work there. That might work when you're trying to put on a personality of a character. But don't do it when you're doing informative speaking at your job. It's important to use your voice well, and part of that is knowing how to pronounce words and pronouncing them to the best of your ability. Another aspect that you want to remember is your vocal quality. Your timbre, Timbre, the timbre of the voice, involves basically the sound of it. And the one thing we're most concerned about is the pitch of your voice, the ups and downs, how you go up when you maybe want to express a point, how you don't go down when maybe you're a little more serious. When you tell a kid a bedtime story, you have pitch that goes like this. Kids will not sit still and listen to monotone speech. They want to hear some action. They want to hear some ups and downs. They want to hear the roller coaster in your voice. That is what pitch is concerned. And a good speech will have pitch in it. If it doesn't have pitch, as I mentioned, it is considered monotone. That's not good. Tempo is the rate you're speaking. As you notice right now, I'm speaking in a rather quick tempo. It keeps people's interest if you get too slow and you try to speak too emphatically, thinking you're making a point by speaking slower. It doesn't work. People who listen to you listen quicker than you can actually speak. So keep your rate of delivery a quick one. Now don't make it ridiculously fast. Don't make it so fast that we can't understand what you're trying to say. But keep a nice, rapid rate of delivery. It's very important. Let's see, there's vocalized pauses I want you to remember. I just did one then when I went When you go or you're speaking and or you're going to explain like something like you want to like us to understand. When you use or like consistently, they're called vocal fillers, vocalized pauses. Either one, pauses or fillers. They detract from your speech, but now don't try to get rid of all of them, because if you do, you will hinder yourself in delivering a speech. We all have them. Even after years and years and years of speaking, I still have them. I don't have them as much as I did when I started. They eventually will go away as you learn that you have your information in your head, as you learn that you're not going to have to search for information. But in the beginning, as you're a new speaker, yeah, you're going to have some. Try to control them as much as you can. Projection simply means volume. I need to be able to hear your speech. Now, if your speech is too low and you're like this and people have to lean forward to listen to you, that destroys the message of your speech. Don't speak overly loud either. Most people will have a microphone if you're speaking to a large group of people at work, or if you're speaking at church, or even maybe if you're speaking at your kid's school. But if you're on the job, typically you will not have a microphone. You'll be speaking in a room with maybe anywhere from 5 to 30 people, maybe. You will want your voice to be loud enough that they can hear you and understand you without being too loud and without straining your throat with your volume. Nice, easy to listen to, nice volume to hear. Let's see, what else is there here? Mentioned in this chapter is your personal appearance as well. Now, at a job, I doubt if you'll have any problems with personal appearance. You know what's proper at a job, you know what's not. In college settings, I want you to remember, when you deliver a speech, I want you to dress for the grade that you want. Now, this does not mean you have to wear a suit and tie. I'm not wearing a suit and tie right now. But I'm also not wearing a hat for this speech. I'm not wearing a t-shirt with words across the front. If you stand to deliver your speech, I want your clothes at a decent length. Don't wear or do anything that is inappropriate during your speech that might call attention away from the speech. So get your hair out of your face so you don't flip it continuously, as if I had that problem. Don't wear overly big earrings, ladies. Don't wear colors that are so shocking. I pay attention to the colors instead of you. You want a nice professional appearance, an appearance that looks like you actually paid attention to what you were doing, but an appearance that says, I look nice, but my speech is more important, so I want you to listen to that. So remember that when it comes to your appearance. Gentlemen, no hats. Use gestures. You see I'm using my hands here. I'm not standing. Were I standing, I walk. In class when I teach, I walk. But on a video, it's kind of hard to walk, so mainly you'll be sitting probably. But I will need to see some hand gestures from time to time. You don't use them all the time. You use them when you need them. And when you don't need them, you leave them in your lap or down by your side. My best advice for hand gestures is to forget you have them. They will come up automatically because you've been speaking all your life. Let's see what else your chapter says. Eye contact. So important. When you speak to me, you will be looking directly into the camera. Don't position yourself down at the camera so you're speaking to me like this. That does not work. Don't do that. Keep the camera right in front of you and look directly into the camera. I am your audience. Now, of course, you can look away when you need to glance at your notes, but come back to me rather quickly. Again, do not read to me. Speak to me. If you read, you're going to lose some major points. But keep your camera right in front of you so you look directly into it. When you're speaking to people, an audience, a live audience, you'll want to scan that audience as you're speaking. You don't want to have to mainly focus on 2 or 3 people, but just scan. That way everyone feels like that once in a while you're coming into eye-to-eye contact with them. Good thing to do. Eye contact is so very important. What else does it mention here? The podium. If you have a podium when you're speaking, try not to stand directly behind it. Try to stand to one side. You can put your hand on the podium. You can put your notes on the podium, but don't stand behind the podium. It creates a barrier. That's why in your instructions I tell you don't sit behind a desk. I need to see you. I don't have a barrier here in front of me. If I had a table here, that would kind of cut off some of me. It would look like we have something that separates us. You don't want that to happen as a speaker. So when you have a podium, try to remember to step to the side and deliver your speech there so the audience can see all of you. It helps. I have indicated in the chapter, I gave you a download of the chapter, and I circled information I think it's most important for you to look at in this chapter. One of them is preparing notes. As I said before, you don't need to memorize any of your notes once you write them out, but you will want to mostly memorize your introduction and mostly memorize your conclusion. Those are the two sections that the audience will be listening to most closely. Introduction should definitely be memorized. That way you can look directly into the camera as you gain the audience attention. As for the rest of the notes, make them general. Don't write out every sentence of your speech. If you do, it's going to look and sound awkward. You'll be more tempted to read your notes. So don't do that. Write down keywords, key thoughts, so you can glance at them and then come right back to me and speak to me. That's what I got to say about preparing notes. Anything else? Rehearse. Rehearse in the mirror. Look into the mirror. Watch yourself in the mirror as you rehearse. And most importantly, you have to smile. Once in a while, you got to smile in your speech. Smiling is one of the categories I grade you on. So make sure you do smile, preferably in the beginning when you introduce yourself, and then smile off and on during the speech. Let the audience know you're still friendly and approachable. No one wants anyone just to sit and grimace and growl at them all the time. So practice that smile. Plus, it's good for your upcoming job interviews. If you don't smile in your job interview, you're not going to get the job. If you don't smile at your customers, you're not going to keep your customers. If you're not going to smile, then your communication is going to be rather weak and lax. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's about 14 minutes worth of little notes on chapter 12 this time. So again, if you have any questions or any concerns, please text me or email me, and I will get back with you just as quickly as I can. Have a good, basic, informative speech.